Although Vita Health Group provided this exercise class provisional with your health and safety in mind, each individual participant has their own limitations and should consult their general practitioner or an appropriate medical professional prior to undertaking the class. Should you be prone to injury, are currently pregnant, or be managing any functional limiting medical conditions, please seek medical confirmation prior to participating. At all times, ensure you follow all instructions provided by Vita Health Groups throughout the entirety of the recording. Should you experience any symptoms of dizziness, nausea, or increased pain at any point during your participation, please stop and seek the appropriate advice from your general practitioner or the 111 service.
Hello and welcome to today's class. My name's Danny and I'll be your instructor today. Before we go on to our class, we are just going to run through some core principles. So first things first, we're just going to talk about breathing. So throughout our exercise classes, we do need to focus on our breathing. We need to make sure we keep it nice and slow and controlled when possible. And also when we're doing the exercises, we will run through when to breathe in and when to breathe out. But typically, we tend to breathe out when we're doing sort of the most difficult part of the exercise or the bit where we're having to engage our abdominals. The second thing we're just going to run through is what we call finding a neutral spine. So that what this means is that when we're doing our different exercises, we've not got our pelvis in a tilted direction because that can sometimes put extra pressures on the spine. To do this, what you're going to do, you're going to make a diamond shape with your hands. You're going to put your thumbs just under the belly button and then drop the fingers down. From here, you should be able to, all 4 points of the diamond should be touching the body. If you find that the pelvis is too tilted backwards, you'll find that the bottom of the triangle isn't touching your body. So what you need to do then is try and tilt the pelvis and try and make sure that we've got all 4 points touching. Once you have, that is your neutral spine. The next thing that we're going to run through is just on engaging the core. So there's two different things that we're going to run through. We're going to talk about engaging our abdominal muscles, and we're also going to talk about engaging our pelvic floor. For our abdominal muscles, the best way to try and engage the muscles is to think about having a belt on and imagine that you're trying to pull the belt a little bit tighter. So you're trying to squeeze in so that you can get the belt onto that next notch. When you're doing that movement, you'll be able to feel the muscles engaging. For the pelvic floor, sounds a little bit strange, but what I want you to do is try and imagine that you really need the toilet and that you're trying to keep it in. And what you'll feel is you'll feel all of the muscles contract in your pelvic floor. So when we're going through all these exercises, I want you to really try and focus on squeezing those abdominals like you've got a tight belt on, and also squeezing that pelvic floor like you really need the toilet. One of the other things to think about is our rib cage placement. So again, when we're doing these exercises, we don't want our ribs protruding. So what I mean by that is that if we were trying to stand straight, our ribs would be sort of pushed out in front of us. We want to try and keep them tucked in. To try and do this, another thing to think about is trying to bring those bottom ribs down towards your hips. So you're almost imagining that you're trying to shorten that distance, and that'll help to keep the rib cage in the right place. And the last and final thing is just to do with our head placement. So when we're doing all of our different movements, we need to make sure that we've got the neck in a nice straight line. So to do this, what I want you to try and imagine you're doing is trying to elongate the neck and then also tuck the chin in. Okay, so from the side, we should have a nice straight neck. We haven't got any chins sticking out or heads tucked down. So a nice elongated neck and chin tucked in. Okay, those are all of the different principles that I want you to think about as we move through today's class. I know there's a lot and I will keep reminding you as we go through. The last thing is that all of the equipment that you need for today's class is going to be shown on screen just now, and then we will get started. Let's get started with our warm-up then. So with this warm-up, we're aiming to increase our heart rate, activate the muscles, increase mobility, all ready for our exercise class that's coming up. So we're going to start off nice and simple with just some marching on the spot. We're going to be doing this for 1 minute. Do it at your own pace, whether you want to go nice and slow or quite fast, completely up to you. Fab, let's get going for 1 minute then. Make sure we're swinging those arms, lifting the feet nice and high whilst we're marching. Remember, we're working to increase that heart rate. So just taking it at your own pace. That's great, keep swinging those arms, lifting those knees nice and high. And we are nearly halfway there. That's great. Again, taking it at your own pace, just as we start the warm-up. Okay, 10 more seconds. Great, and bring that down to a stop. Brilliant. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're just going to do some jogging on the spot this time. We're only going to go for 30 seconds this time. Again, doing it at your own pace. Just make sure that you've got a nice, safe environment around you. Okay, when we're ready, off we go. Again, make sure we're moving those arms and lifting those feet nice and high off the floor. That's it, halfway there. Good, 5 seconds left. And bring it down to a stop. Brilliant. Okay, so next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to do some hip circles. So for this one, I want your feet sort of shoulder width apart on the floor and the hands just resting on your hips. We're going to start off with very small circles. So we're going to sort of push the hips to one side, bring them round to the front and round to the back. Again, just do them at your own pace, and also with the circle, just make it as small or as big as you can, depending on how you're feeling. We're going to go for 30 seconds. When we're ready, off we go. That's it. So just make sure we're concentrating on really pushing those hips all the way around the movement. That's good. Because we're coming up to halfway, we're going to switch and go in the opposite direction. Again, like I said, if you need to do small circles with how you're feeling at the moment, that's absolutely fine. Or nice and big circles, doesn't matter. Great, and come to a stop. Okay, for the next exercise, we're going to go into doing some leg swings. For this one, I'm going to do it just freestanding, but if you need to, you can hold onto a wall, hold onto the back of a chair, whichever works best for you. We're going to start off with our right leg. So again, like I said, holding onto something for stability if needs be. We're going to go for 30 seconds. We're just going to lift the leg out in front of us and then slowly lift behind. Okay, off we go. So just swinging that leg at your own pace. Like I said, if you need to hold on to something, then that's absolutely fine. Good. That's great, keeping the knee nice and straight. And just swinging back and forwards. That's it, we've got 5 seconds left on this leg. And then we'll switch over. Great, okay. So if you need to swing the chair around to the other side or reposition yourself so that you can hold onto the wall the opposite way, that's fine. And then we'll go for 30 seconds again. So on the left leg this time, swinging back and forth. That's great. Again, just doing it at your own pace, lifting the leg in a range of movement that's comfortable for you. Good. Okay, 10 seconds left on this leg. Great, and come to a stop, just back into our resting position. So the next activity that we're going to do is going to be with our arms. We're going to go for some arm circles. So what we'll do, we'll start off with our right arm because we started with our right leg. We'll pop our hand out to the side, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with some circles, just going backwards like this. If you need to do the circles nice and small, that's absolutely fine. Obviously, if you can, then we're going to do nice big circles. with the arm. Again, just do whatever feels comfortable for you at the moment. And again, we're going to go for 30 seconds. That's it. Like I said, make sure we're doing this one in a comfortable range of movement. It can be as small or as big as you need at the moment. That's great, we've done 15 seconds on this arm. That's great, last 5 seconds. Brilliant, okay. And this time we're going to do the exact same on the left arm. So again, arm out to the side, you can do small circles if you need to, obviously big ones if you can as well. Fab, off we go, 30 seconds on this one. That's great. Again, just going at the speed that sort of works for you at the moment. If you need to move nice and slowly through this movement, that's fine. Obviously, if you can, then obviously we'll go a bit quicker. That's great, and just 5 more seconds. Perfect, okay. Last exercise of our warm-up, we're going to do some movements with our spine. So we're going to work in 4 different directions. We're going to go for a forward movement, a backwards movement, and then side to side as well. So what I'll do first is I'll show you what we're going to do, and then I'll explain how many we're going to do after that. So we're going to have the feet shoulder width apart again. For the forwards movement, I'd like you to have your hands resting on the front of your legs. And then what I want you to do nice and slowly is just come down as far as you can until you start to feel that bit of a stretch in the lower back, and then return up to your neutral position. Then we'll go for the opposite. So this time I'll turn to the side to show you, you're going to lean backwards. Again, just a gentle movement, and back up to the neutral position. Then hands down by our sides. It doesn't matter which side you do first, but you're going to bend over to the side, back up, and over to the other side. We're going to do 5 in each direction. Again, just going as far as you can. Okay, we'll do them all together. So if we start at the front, we're going to come down, just go as far as you can, and then back up to that neutral position. Then we're going to lean back, again to the neutral position, hands down by our sides, drop one hand down the side of the leg, back up, and then over to the side. So that's 1 repetition. So now we'll go for our second. So again, we're going to come back down the front, nice and slowly and controlled. And then this time lean backwards. That's great. And then down to one side, back up and over into the other direction. Brilliant. On to number 3. So back to the front, coming down as far as you can, and back up, and then leaning back, and back into that neutral position. Hands down by our sides, and we'll go over to one side, and back up, then over to the other side, and back up. And now for number 4, back to the front, leaning forwards, and back up. Hands on our hips, and we'll lean backwards, back to our neutral position, and down to one side, and back over to the other direction. Brilliant, last one now, hands back on the front. We're going to lean down as far as we can, back up to the middle, hands on our hips, and lean back, back to the middle, and then this time we'll drop down one side, back up, and then down to the other side. Okay, that completes our warm-up. So if you want to go and grab a bottle of water ready for our exercise class, and we'll get started. Okay, so this exercise that we're doing now is called the bird dog. We're going to be doing just the leg part of the exercise, but I'll show you more of that when we're down on the mat. For this exercise, we do need to be on all 4s on the mat, so take your time getting down to the floor. If you need to pause the video whilst you get into that position, then that's fine. Just take your time. So like I said, we're going to be in all 4s on the mat, so the knees need to be directly below the hips, and the hands need to be directly below the shoulders. What we're going to do from here, we're going to keep the core nice and engaged, And then we're going to very slowly lift the leg out behind us, keeping the spine parallel to the floor, and then bring it back down in a controlled way. And then we'll do the opposite leg and come back down. We're going to do 2 sets, and in each set, we're going to do 8 repetitions on each leg. So we'll do 16 in total in the first set, then we'll take a little break, and then we'll go again. Okay, so into that tabletop all fours position, keeping the core engaged, and let's start. So we're going to lift one leg out behind and back down, nice and controlled. Nothing should be moving except for your legs, just alternating each time. Once we've done both legs, that's 1 repetition. So we've done 2. That's it. If you find that I'm going too fast, then just do it at your own pace and pause the video if you need to. Okay, so this is number 5. Keeping that core engaged, keeping the spine parallel to the floor and nice and controlled. We're not dropping the legs back to the floor, we're just going nice and slowly. And then the last one. Great, okay, and then you can relax from there. What we'll do now is take a 20-second break before we go again. If you need a drink, then grab one and we'll come back to do our second set. Okay, and back into our second set. We're going to do the exact same thing again. So into that tabletop position, knees below the hips and the hands just below the shoulders. So from here, we're just going to lift one leg and back down, and then the opposite leg and back down, and then we're going to repeat 7 more times. So out and back in. And remember, the only thing that should be moving here is your legs. The rest of your body should stay nice and still, and your core should stay engaged. Okay, so on to our 4th repetition. So we're halfway. So, good, keeping that spine parallel to the floor. Just lifting those legs nice and controlled. And then the last one. That's great. Okay, and then just take your time getting back to your feet. We're going to have another 20-second break before we go on to our next exercise. So grab yourself a drink and we'll see you back here in 20 seconds. Okay, so this exercise is the side plank with the hip abduction. We're going to be in a side laying position for this exercise, down on the mat. So take your time to get down there. We're going to be doing 3 sets. We're going to do something slightly different on this one, where we do 8 repetitions on each side for the first 2 sets. And for the final set, we're going to do something that's called doing the exercise until failure. So what that means is that on the last set, you will do as many of the exercise as you can until it feels like your muscles can't do any more. So that will be different for each person, and it will probably be different for you each time you do the exercise class. So when we get to the 3rd one, I'll make sure to explain that again. But to start off with, we're just going to do 8 on each side. So we need to go into a side plank position. I'll show you one first. Elbow on the floor, directly below the shoulder, feet out to the side. This time the feet need to be on top of each other. Then what we're going to do, once we've got all of the body in line, we're going to lift up into a side plank position. And from here, you're going to lift the top leg up and down. That's 1 repetition, and we're going to do 8, and then we'll move on to the other side, do 8, and then we'll have a quick rest before we go on to the second set. Okay? So when you're ready, lift up into your side plank, and off we go. Lift and down. Up and down, keeping the core engaged the whole time. Squeezing that muscle to lift the leg. 3 more. Good, and relax from there. Okay, we're going to switch to the other side. Okay, so we need the elbow on the floor. Make sure that the feet are in line with the knees and hips and the shoulder, so that the whole body is in line. And then when you're ready, we'll push up into our side plank and we lift. 8 repetitions. Keeping that core engaged. And relax from there. Okay, that's the end of the first set. So we're going to take 20 seconds, have a quick break, and then we'll come back for the second set. Okay, let's get started with our second set then. So we're going to go back to the side that we were originally on, and we're going to come down to the mat on our elbow. Make sure that all our joints are in line, so we've got ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, all in one nice straight line. And from here we're going to push up into our side plank position, and off we go for 8 more. So lift and down, keeping that core engaged, keeping the body in line. Nice steady breathing. Good, and relax from there. Okay, and then we'll swap sides. So we'll go over to the other side. You might find that on these you have a stronger side than the other, and that's absolutely fine. We're just trying to work all the muscles up to make them nice and strong. Okay, so from here, all the joints in line again, elbow underneath the shoulder, lift up into that side plank, and off we go for 8. Good, and return back down. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to take a 20-second break again, and then we're going to come back for our third and final set of this exercise. Okay, so let's get started with our third and final set of this exercise. So as I mentioned before, this set is going to be until failure. So all that means is when we get started, just do as many of these movements as you can. If you can only feel like you can do 2, that's absolutely fine. If you feel like you can do more than 8 and go until 12 or whatever, that's absolutely fine as well. We'll just keep going. If you're doing more than I am, what I would suggest is pausing the video until you get to sort of the failure point, and then start the video again so that we can be at the same time. Okay, so we're going to go back to the original side we started on. Bring the elbow down to the mat. Make sure that we're all in line. Good. And then we're going to push up into our plank position, and we're going to lift and down, just until you feel like you can't do any more. So we're not counting on this one really. Just going until you feel like you can't do any more. And then coming down when you're ready. Obviously, if you want to keep going, then keep going. And just pause the video until you're done. Then we'll switch sides, and we're going to go until failure on the opposite side as well. Okay? So up into your side plank, and go again. Just until you feel like you can't go anymore, when your muscles feel too tired. Okay, well done on that one. Just slowly return to your standing position. I'm going to take a 20-second break. Go and grab yourself a drink if you need one, and then we'll be right back for the next exercise. Okay, so this exercise that we're doing now is called the cat and camel pose. There's quite a few instructions that go along with this one, so I'll show you what we're doing first and then we can get started together. We are back down on the mat for this one, so again, take your time just to get down to the mat and pause the video if you need to. We're going to be in all fours again, so we need the hips directly above the knees and the shoulders directly above the hands. So for the camel position of the movement, we sort of want to try and make our back into a hump. So you're bringing the head down towards the mat and pushing your back up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to move into the opposite movement. So you're going to try and lift your head up and try and drop the rib cage down towards the floor. And then we're going to come back up into our camel position. Okay, so one repetition is one we've done the cat and the camel. And we're going to do 10 repetitions, have a break, and then we'll do 10 repetitions again for our second set. With this one, just go as far as you can into each movement. It might not feel like you're moving a lot, and that's absolutely fine. Over time, that will get more and more. So into our all fours position. We'll start off with the camel. So we're going to come up into the camel and then back down, lifting the head into the cat position and back up into a camel and back down into the cat. Good. Into the camel position, lifting that rib cage up and then coming down into that cat position. Okay, that's 3. So we're going to go up into our camel, nice and slowly between these positions. We're just trying to mobilize the spine. So this is number 5. So we're halfway there. If you need to have a rest, then just pause the video, have a rest. Okay, that's number 6. So we've got 3 more. That's it, number 7. Good, just moving nice and slowly at your own pace and just going as far as you can. Dropping those ribs down for the cat position and pulling them up for the camel. Good, and let's do one more. And down to that cat position, lifting the head. Okay. And relax from there. So we're going to take 20 seconds for a break. If you need a quick drink, then grab one, and then we'll come back for our second set. Okay, back into our second set. We're going to do exactly the same again. So we're going to go back into that tabletop all fours position. Hands directly under the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. And then let's start in our camel position. So we're going to pull that rib cage up towards the ceiling and drop the head. And then we're going to go for the opposite into our cat position, push the ribs towards the floor and lift the head. And then back into our camel. And down into that cat position. That's 2. Up into that camel position, pulling the ribs up. And dropping down into the cat, remembering to lift the head. And onto our 4th one. And back into that cat position. Okay, into our camel. And back down, that's halfway, that was our 5th one. So pull those ribs up, drop the head for the camel, and then switch over, lift the head, and we should be feeling that mobilizing the spine. Good, and 3 more. Make sure we're breathing throughout this exercise. Okay, and 1 more. So up into the camel as much as you can, bringing that ribcage up, and then dropping down as much as we can, lifting the head. Okay, well done. And just take your time to get back up to your feet. That's the end of that exercise. So we're going to have another 20-second break. If you need a drink, go and grab one, and we'll be back for our next exercise. Okay, so this exercise is going to be the glute bridge with the straight leg raise. So for this one, we're going to be down on the mat. So take your time getting down. And if you need to, pause the video and start again when you're ready. Okay, once we're on the floor, we're going to have the feet flat on the floor, knees at sort of a 45-degree angle. And then we're going to have the hands flat on the floor, palms facing down, shoulders on the floor, head on the floor. And then from here, what we're going to do, we're going to go one leg at a time. We'll have one leg bent up like this, the other leg straight out in front, just off the floor. Then, with the grounded leg, we're going to push up. As we're pushing up, we're lifting the opposite leg, toes up towards the ceiling, and then coming back down as we lower. Okay, so our legs are doing different things on this one. So if you want to have a practice, then make sure you do. We're going to do 8 on each leg, have a rest, and then we'll come back and do the same again. Okay, so I'm going to start with my right leg bent, left leg out in front. When we're ready, we're going to push up, lifting the other leg up, and back down, nice and slowly. 7 more, up, and back down. Okay, up, squeeze the glutes at the top, and back down. It's great, keeping breathing nice and steady throughout. Okay, 3 more. That's great, and then lower back down. And this time we're going to switch legs, okay? So this time, the left leg for me is going to be up, and the right leg is going to be down. Exactly the same movement. We're going to push up and lift, lower, both back down, lift up, and back down. Just lifting as high as you can, and just lifting the straight leg as high as you can. Like I said, we're trying to point the foot up towards the ceiling, but don't worry if you can't get all the way there. Just go as far as you can. Okay, 3 more. Nice and controlled. And last one. That's great. Okay. Take your time to sit back up. We're going to take a 20-second rest. Grab a drink if you need one, and then we'll come back for the second set. Okay, let's get into our second set. So we're going to come back in to our starting position. Feet flat on the floor, knees at that 45-degree angle, hands down on the mat. One leg out in front. As we lift up, we lift the leg, and back down, and we'll do 7 more. Squeezing the core and the glutes on this one. Okay, that's 4, that's halfway. Nice and controlled movements. 2 more. That's great. Okay, we're going to swap legs now. So other leg up, the other leg out and straight, arms down by our sides, head and shoulders on the floor, and off we go. Just lifting that leg as high as you can. Doesn't need to be all the way up. If you can't get there, that's fine. Okay, a few more. And when we come up to 8, we're just going to come back into a relaxed position, and in your own time, we're going to stand up. And that's the end of this exercise. We're going to have 20 seconds break, grab yourself a quick drink, and then we will come back for the next one. Okay, so this exercise is called the Superman. So for this one, we're going to be lying on our front on the floor. So make sure you've got a soft surface to lie on. Take your time getting down to the floor. If you need to pause the video and join back in once you're there, that's absolutely fine. So like I said, we're going to be lying on our front on the floor. Our arms are going to come out in front of us, nice and straight. Once we start the exercise, our forehead is going to be resting on the ground. But obviously whilst I'm explaining, I'll keep my head up. So what we're going to do, we're going to alternate arms and legs. So you're going to lift, for example, your right arm and your left leg at the same time. Lift up, hold it for a second and come back down. Then switch the other side and then come back down. But like I said, with the forehead on the floor, we're going to do 10 repetitions on each side. Okay, so once we've done both sides, that will count as 1 repetition and we're going to do 10 total. Okay? Right, off we go. So lift and down, nice and slowly and controlled. That's 1 repetition. You shouldn't hear the arms and the feet coming back down to the floor. It should be nice and controlled. And nice steady breathing throughout in this one. That's good. That's 4 repetitions. Right, keep going, nice steady breathing. Holding for that little bit of time at the top. Good, 2 more on each side. Squeezing all those muscles to lift the arms and legs off the floor. And relax from there. Okay, we'll take a little break. Grab a drink, take 20 seconds, and then we'll come back for a second set. Okay, let's get started with our second set then. So back onto the floor on our front. Arms out in front. Remember, head down to the mat. And then off we go. We're going to lift opposite arm and leg. And lower back down. Other side. And back down. That's 1 repetition. And lower gently. Okay. Lift, hold, and lower. Good. Squeezing all those muscles to lift the arms and legs off the floor just as much as you can. Okay, we've got 5 more on each side. Try and keep that head down towards the mat if you can. That's great, 3 more on each side. Nice steady breathing as well throughout. Good, 1 more. That's great. Very good. And just take your time getting back up into a standing position. And that's the end of that exercise. So let's take 20 seconds, grab yourself a quick drink, and then we'll come back for the next one. Okay, so this next exercise is called thread the needle. For this one, we will be on all fours on the mat, so take your time getting down to the floor. If you need to pause the video, then make sure to do so. What we're going to do with this exercise is a stretching, mobilizing movement, but we're not going to hold it still for long periods of time. What we're going to do is get into the position, hold it for a couple of seconds, come up, and then go on to the other side, hold that one for a couple of seconds. And we're going to do 8 repetitions, have a little break, and then we'll come back to do 8 more. So for our all fours position, we need to make sure that our hips are directly above our knees and that our hands are directly below our shoulders. From here, what we're going to do, we're going to lift one hand and we're going to place the back of the palm on the mat, making sure we're not putting any weight through the back of our hand. That should all be going through the hand that's left palm side down. From here, we're going to very gently slide our hand out to the side, so we're rotating the body and trying to bring the shoulder towards the mat. You should feel a stretch in the lower back. Just go as far as you can, hold for a couple of seconds, and come back up and put the palm face down. Then we're going to swap sides, bring the palm down just as much as you can. If you can get the shoulders to the floor, that's great. If not, then just go as far as you can and back up. Okay, so we're going to do 7 more on each side, just as far as you can, a couple of seconds, and back up. Opposite side, and back up. Okay, 6 more. That's great, and again. Just going as far as you can and as far as you feel comfortable. With these stretches, there shouldn't be any pain. It should just be a gentle stretch. Okay, so we've got 3 more on each side. Just holding for that extra second at the bottom of each movement. 2 more on each side. Just a couple of seconds at the bottom of each movement. Go as far as you can. Like I said, if you can get the mat to the shoulder to the mat, then that's great. Okay, last one. And back up. Okay, that is the end of the first set. So take 20 seconds. If you need a quick drink, then make sure to get one, and then we'll come back for the second set. Okay, so let's get going for the second set. Same thing again. So we're going to go into our all fours position. And then from here, we're going to take one hand, bring it out to the side just as far as you can, lowering that shoulder towards the mat. And back up. And the same on the other side. You should feel that stretch in the lower back, also up into the mid back, and sometimes on the back of the shoulder as well. Just depending on where you've got some tightness. Okay, 5 more on each side. Just hold for that 1 to 2 seconds and come back up. That's great. Dropping that shoulder as much as you can towards the mat. But like we said before, it should just be a gentle stretch. There shouldn't be any pain. If you are feeling pain, you might just be going too far for now. So just come out of the stretch slightly. great. Just one more on each side. Just reaching as far as you can comfortably. And back up. Okay, and then nice and slowly get yourself back up into your standing position. And we're going to take a 20-second break, so make sure to grab a drink if you want one, and then we'll come back to the next exercise.
Okay.
Okay, so this exercise is called the Cobra. This is one of our stretches, so we're going to be holding this position for 30 seconds. We're going to do it 3 times through. We're going to be down on the mat for this one, so take your time getting down to the floor. We're going to be lying on our front. So onto the floor, on our front. The hands are going to come underneath the shoulders, like so, with the elbows tucked in to our sides. What we're going to do from here, keeping the legs still on the floor, you're just going to try and extend the elbows and push yourself up. Just go as far as you can. If you can only come up onto your elbows, that's absolutely fine. If you can get all the way to the top with straight arms, that's also fine. Whatever feels comfortable for you at the moment. And then we're going to hold for 30 seconds, okay? Right, off we go then. So big push up into our position and hold for 30. Make sure that we're breathing nice and slowly in this one, with it being a stretch. We want to focus on that breathing. Try and keep the head forwards if you can. Try and relax the muscles into this position. Really focus on that breathing. Just going as far as you can. You should just feel that gentle stretch on this one. Okay, and then relax from there. We're just going to take a few seconds in between each repetition. If you feel like you need a little bit longer, then feel free to pause the video and then join back in when you feel ready. But if not, then we're going to go again. So we're going to push up as much as we can and off we go for 30 seconds. So like we were saying, you should feel a gentle stretch on this one. Shouldn't be painful. If it feels painful, then it might mean that we're just going too far. So maybe just lower down slightly and just don't go as far for this one. That's great, 10 more seconds on this one. Keeping that head forwards if you can. Breathe in nice and slow. Okay, and then come back down to the floor. So same as last time, we're just going to take a few seconds to relax. If you feel like you need longer, then pause the video and just return when you feel ready. But if not, let's go into our last one. So we're going to push up just as far as you can and off we go. Focusing on that breathing, feeling that gentle stretch and trying to relax the muscles into that position. Also try not to hunch the shoulders up, try and push the shoulders down if you can. Breathe in nice and slow. Okay, and then slowly lowering ourselves down. And then taking your time, I want you to return to your standing position. That's great. Okay, that is the last exercise of today's class before we move into our cool down. So we're going to take 20 seconds, have a quick drink of water if you need one, and then we will come back for our quick cool down to round off today's session. Okay, let's get started with our cool down. So with the cool down, we're going to be focusing on bringing that heart rate back down, bringing our breathing rates back down, and sort of just relaxing the muscles after the class that you've done. So we're going to start off nice and easy with 30 seconds of deep breathing. So for the breathing, I'd really focus on breathing in through the nose and then breathing back out through the mouth. We're wanting those nice deep breaths. So when we are breathing in, try and think about sort of filling the rib cage and then obviously releasing on the breath out. Okay, we're going to go for 30 seconds all together. Off we go. So like I said, breathing in through the nose and back out through the mouth. And make sure, like we said, we're really trying to fill that rib cage with air when we're breathing in, and then breathing out nice and slowly. You might find that at the moment, because you've just finished the exercises, that it's a bit difficult to slow that breathing rate down, but just go at your own pace. Okay, fab. What we're going to go on to next, again, nice and easy, we're going to go on to some walking on the spots. So in the warm-up before, we were obviously trying to increase our heart rate with the marching and the jogging. This time we're trying to bring it back down. So we're going to go nice and slowly and just walk on the spot. Okay, for 30 seconds, off we go. That's great. So still swinging those arms like we were before, but obviously just in a bit more of a relaxed position on this one and going a little bit slower. That's great, that's halfway there. Five more seconds. Great, okay, this time we're going to move on to doing some hip circles. So we did these in our warm-up before, but again, a bit like the walking, we're going to bring the pace down on this one. So we're going to have the feet shoulder width apart, hands on the hips, and again, make the circles as small or as big as you can. And we're just going to go big circles with the hips, nice and slowly. We're going to do 30 seconds all together. Off we go. So bringing the pace down a little bit on this one, just moving through the full movement, nice and slowly. We can still concentrate on our breathing in these cool down exercises. So really trying to slow that breathing down. 10 more seconds. Great, okay. For the next movement, we're going to be going down to the floor. So take your time getting down. If you need to hold on to something, then do that. Nice and carefully onto the floor. And we're going to have the feet out in front, legs nice and straight. I want you to try and keep the knees as straight as possible with this one. And then we're going to rest the hands on front of the thighs. From here, we're just going to slide down the legs just as far as you can, and we want to grip on to our legs as close as we can to our ankles, and we're going to hold that stretch for 30 seconds. Okay, so moving down just as far as you can, and then let's hold for 30 seconds. Off we go. Still focusing on that breathing when we're doing this movement, so breathing nice and slowly in and out, and we should feel that nice gentle stretch down the back of the legs. Okay, we're halfway there. Ten seconds left. And 5 seconds. Okay, and sit back up into that relaxed position. We're going to get ourselves back up into a standing position, but again, take your time. If you need to hold on to something to help you get up, then that's absolutely fine. Okie doke. Once we're up then, for the next movement, we're going to be doing some stretches, mobility work for the middle back. So we're going to have the feet shoulder width apart again. The hands this time are going to come up behind the head. And we're going to be doing 4 different movements. So we're going to be coming down into a forward position, back up and into a slightly extended position. Then we're also going to do some flexion to the side, back up into a middle position and over to the side. Okay, we might add in a little bit of rotation too, just to stretch a few extra muscles. We're going to go for 30 seconds. I want you to go at your own pace, and we're just going to move through all those different movements, just making sure that we're stretching all the right muscles. Okay, off we go all together. So coming forwards, back up into that slightly extended position, and back down, over to the sides, and then rotating. That's great, and again we're going to move slightly forwards and up and slightly back. Then we're going to lean to the sides. And again, we might go slightly over 30 seconds, but we want to get all those movements back in. And the final rotation. Okay, and then bring the arms back down into our neutral position. We're going to finish off by doing 30 seconds of our deep breathing again. So we're going to go in through the nose, out through the mouth, make sure we're trying to fill that rib cage there, and then release. Okay, off we go. So hopefully this breathing will be sort of easier now. Hopefully you'll be breathing that a little bit slower. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, really trying to fill that rib cage with air. Down. Brilliant. Okay, well done everyone. So thank you for attending our exercise class today. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope to see you very soon on our next session. Thank you.